What's going on, guys and girls? How are you doing today? It's Single Roleplay here once again, and today I want to show you another finalized build which I had in the works for a while. This is the Cyclone Leech King SLAYER build. I had this project running in the Incursion League, and unfortunately just ran out of time in the Incursion League because I just ran out of fuel and currency, and overall the Incursion League was not very fun for me personally. So I created the sketch build guide to give the ropes on the build and just ran out of time to finalize everything. But now I have the time, and now I've done everything, recorded, written, everything is very solid, so I have a full understanding how the shit works and I can give you all the details. Cyclone in general is very popular skill. It has been in the game for many years, and it even has some kind of a fan base out there. A lot of people like Cyclone SLAYER. It just really well combined together. It's pretty strong, very fast. It's a movement attack skill. Also, it's a melee skill. So these three combined give you a really nice melee experience. It's very fast, like I said, a very nice experience, and the damage is pretty damn nice. In the Incursion League, the Val double strike also was introduced, which allowed us to get a little kick in the balls on the single target, because Cyclone really struggles a bit on a single target. And Val double strike allowed us to really melt bosses in 1 second with the Val double strike, guys. So all this combined together allowed me to create a really solid build for you guys. So let's check it out. Pros and the cons coming next. Let's start with the pros first, and the pros are actually quite a few of them. Because overall the build is very solid, like combination of everything. The mobility is really nice. You can see how fast I move across the map. It's a movement, attack, skill, which also scale with movement speed as well as attack speed, as well as basically the damage and everything else. It's very mobile. It's really scales with attack speed. You can leap ahead and just move ahead. So the mobility is really nice. The clear speed is also very solid for a melee skill, which is also the melee. Cyclone is a melee attack movement skill. So for the melee skill, this clear speed is really nice. The AoE is really nice as well. The sustain and survival ability is also pretty damn nice, and when you have everything up and ready, everything settle up, everything in line, like the damage reduction, flasks, and 6 links, nothing really can kill you. Almost it's practically impossible to die. If you're really spinning and running, then practically nothing can kill you through the threshold, because you are leeching almost half of your life whenever hit. That's why it's incredible amount of sustain. The physical damage reduction, of course, is not as huge as a Juggernaut, but overall it's incredibly good sustain, and the toughness is very solid. Pretty much outside of bosses and very end game, nothing can really kill you very fast, for example. For the cons of the build, I would say that the single target outside of Val double strike is pretty damn bad on Cyclone. It's just not the boss killer. This is why we are implementing Val double strike clones to help with the single target, and especially the bosses. In the past, people used a lot of Ancestral Warchief, and we are still using it, but just as a buff and not as the boss killer. There's a reason for that, because Val double strike clones are immortal, they are invisible to damage, and Ancestral Warchief as a totem, it has some kind of life on it, and it always dies in the very end game. It's just very hard to keep this little guy up and running at all costs, at all times. He does a considerable amount of damage, but Val double strike, just because they are immortal clones, even though they do not last for a long time, but most of the time, as you can see, there is enough to dispatch the boss entirely. The only problem with Val double strike is that you can't really get these Val souls on the very end game, like the Shaper and the Uber Elder, but outside of that, it's very easy to get this shit up and running. Another con of the build that I want to talk about is definitely the leveling process, because you know, Cyclone is pretty damn weak on a 5 link, and if you don't have the tabula from the very start of the game, you will be had a hard time playing just as the Cyclone, because you don't need the move speed, you don't have the move speed the necessary to keep the smoothness on the build, you don't have the attack speed to hit strong enough. So will take a while before you can actually play as a Cyclone, because most of the time you will be leveling as some Sunder, Cleave, Double Strike, you know, something else, just not the Cyclone. And this is, in my opinion, is one of the problems and with the Cyclone skill itself, because it's just very hard to play the Cyclone from the very start of the game. Let's take a look at powder building, guys. I will guide you for all the shit that you necessarily need to keep this build up and running. So we start as the duelist area here, and first thing we need to take is the attack speed. Attack speed is the absolute king for the Cyclone Slayer, and just grab these attack speed nodes in life over here. And the first thing you need to get as fast as possible this life and mana leech, because we'll be running with the Worm's Malt belt for this. And once we get actually here, which is will be the route from here to here, we will be getting for this life, and just on the right to get this life and mana leech. This will instantly drop all kind of mana leech on the gear, and we will have much more freedom as it is. The second thing that I will prioritize is once you get this mana leech and this necessary leech over here, forget about this damage over here, just head up and get this life over here, get this life down here. And the first thing priority you need to get is to get resolute technique, because you will not be critting much in general at all, but the chance to hit, which is 100% that resolute technique gives, is a huge thing, because without this our hit chance is 85. And for the fast hitting skill like Cyclone, this is incredibly important. So first thing, try to get leech, then go up, get more life as possible down here and up there, and just get resolute technique. After that, this is absolute no-brainer. Just try to get this swords if you can. If you have Cyclone on a 6 link by this time, and you have, for example, a good sword, you can get try to get swords. But for the most part, most likely you will be leveling with the axes, like I mentioned on my written part of the build, because axes are very affordable, they are cheap, and they do a lot of damage. So up to about level 70 and 80 you will be leveling with the axes. So you have to get the X nodes, guys, like these nodes over here instead of the swords. You will be getting the axes. So this is how it works. You basically level up with axes till about 70-80. This is where you can start amassing your currency to buy yourself a Starforge. Once you get Starforge, this is the end of the axes. You know, just unspecking the axes and transition back into the swords. This is where the true end game begins. When you get the swords, you're just buffing yourself through the more attack speed here. Wrecking Ball is pretty impressive because it gives you attack speed and fist damage. After that is mostly life, this nodes over here, and more life is there. This is basically the end game nodes over here that you will take. Don't forget about this, which is incredibly important. Berserking is 12% increase attack speed, which is fucking huge. After that is mostly grab more life and you're good to go. The very end game things you will be probably specializing in are, of course, the jewels. But you can get these jewels as you go, like for example this, and this one, you take it as the go, and the last one will be just this jewel node over here and this over here. Nothing crazy, guys. As you see, the damage on this one is this level 94 build, and if I spec into higher, I can well get over 1 million of white damage here. But if you even put it on the boss damage and the Sheeper, this is still a pretty damn good amount of damage over here. For the items, I will just talk really briefly about this. This is Starforge, and Starforge is really OP for this kind of build because it gives us physical damage, and your physical damage can also shock. You also get 20% increased area of effective attacks, and what's the most important thing, you get 100 life on it. 100 life is fucking huge, and this thing alone lets you reach like 7,000 for the Belly of the Beast setup, and over 8,000 on the Calm's Heart setup as well. Originally, the build had two options, which are the Disfavor X version and the Starforge, but I kind of dropped the idea of Disfavor because it just makes unnecessary complexity to the build and makes it more confusing, like you have a choice. But with this is a solid equipment, guys, solid gear, solid build, and you just don't need to bother about Disfavor. Disfavor is a great axe, it's very strong, and it's mostly like the bleeding route which you take with Disfavor, but at the same time, compare the amount of Disfavors that you will see and how expensive they are to the amount of Starforges, because Starforge can be like 100 chaos, but the Disfavor will be at least like 4 or 5 exiles, maybe even higher, because not many people even farm Uber at Siri, but a lot of people farm Shaper, because Shaper is the leading path to the Uber Elder, and eventually people will farm a lot of Starforges and you can buy a very affordable sword. And in general, if we compare Starforge to the Disfavor, Starforge is around 10% more damage, even if you can stack a lot of things, and we can pair it, it's around 10% more damage over Disfavor. I did the comparison and this is how it works. So for the weapon, we're using the Starforge. Keep in mind there's a little trick here. We deal no elemental damage, but your physical damage can shock. What does this mean? Because we need some kind of shock source on us. As you can probably see, we are not critting. Your hits can be evaded, so we'll never deal critical strikes. And the one source of shock is when you can do critical strike. But since we never crit, we basically can never shock. So the only way how we can get shock is actually get some chance to shock on the tree. And this is how we get it, guys. We can get it on the jewels. So this is very, very important. And on the jewels that you see here, there is no chance to shock, but on the jewels that I have, actually, that I have on my exact character, I decided I'm gonna get a couple of jewels with chance to shock, and around 2 jewels with 5% chance to shock give you around 10% chance to shock in general, which maximized by your attack speed, high attack speed, give you a quite reliable amount of chance to shock the enemies, and this can be a pretty damn crazy amount of boost. So I strongly recommend you to take the shock route and get a couple of drills with shock. The helmet is Devotee's Devotion with increased Cyclone attack speed. This is #1 for damage, increased Cyclone attack speed. The second enchantment that gives the most damage is 40% increased Cyclone damage, and the third and the rest is mostly like blood rage, attack speed, and everything else. For the body armor, there are actually several options. The Belly of the Beast is the cheapest and preferable because it gives you a resistance and gives you a 40% increased maximum life, which is huge. With this chest, you can reach 7,000 life. I'm running on 7.3 thousand life on my character right now. Another options are Calm's Heart, and with Calm's Heart, this is the only way you can reach 8,000 life. Unfortunately, with Calm's Heart, you have to drop Warchief to somewhere and use double strike on a falling. But if you're playing hardcore, I think that this is the good option, using Calm's Heart instead. Bronze Leader is like the no-brainer, highest DPS chest possible for the Starforge Cyclone Slayer build, because it gives you a +2 to socketed movement gems, and Cyclone is a movement gem. That's why it's so incredible. Gives you attack speed, increased damage with movement skill. This is just fucking huge, guys, fucking huge. And Carcass Jack is also not far from that, because Carcass Jack increases the area damage, and this is also an area skill. Cyclone is an area skill, so it's life resist, area effect, and area damage. This is also good. The only problem with the Carcass Jack is this is evasion rating, energy shield, chest, and it will be probably damn hard to get red socket snake, so I don't recommend this personally. For the gloves, is no-brainer. They're just some kind of gauntlets with the attack speed. Probably the spike gloves is easiest. The boots basically just a life resist, nothing crazy. Get yourself 60% increase attack speed if you kill recently. The amulet is several options. Dresser's Salute is best in slot for damage. Carnage Heart is best in slot for leech. This is how you get the maximum amount of leech. And in Presence is another interesting option. Within Presence, actually, you get reduced vulnerability mana reservation. And since we are running vulnerability on the Blasphemy, at the same time we can use another thing, which is Herald of Purity here. I have it over here. Herald of Purity, which can potentially give us around 5% more damage. So if you run with in Presence, you can get yourself 5 to 6% more damage by running Herald of Purity as well, because our vulnerability will take absolutely nothing for us. But overall, for the damage, Dresser's Salute is what most Cyclone Slayer will be using. I'm personally using just a normal rare amulet because it's just incredibly cheap. The rings are for the highest DPS. You can get steel rings, but if you don't get steel rings, but just get whatever rings you have. The belts are also several options, but the Belt of the Deceiver is probably the cheapest and the most balanced belt in the game, because it gives you life, resist, and increased physical damage. This is just very good. Intimidated enemies also very strong. For the damage, there are two options. Perseverance is amazing because you have Onslaught while at 45, you get maximum life, and you chance 45 on melee stand, because you can absolutely drop 45 on your Leap Slam this way. And another thing is the Wretch. The Wretch is like the absolute GG for the damage. It's just incredibly strong. At the same time, it's probably the most expensive options of all, because the Wretch costs at least like 40-50 chaos. This is just pretty damn expensive. The Flasks I will cover in the Flask section, but you can see there's just Lion's Roar here, which is mandatory. The rest are mostly nothing important. Sulfur Flask and the others are mostly Life Flask and a Quicksilver or the Jade Flask for increased evasion. The jewels are also nothing crazy, just attack speed, maximum life, melee damage. Area damage is important, as well as, like I said, again, you can probably take 2 jewels with 5% chance to shock. This will make you shocking experience as well, since your physical damage can finally shock. That's about it, guys, and don't forget that we'll be using Iron Reflexes as well. Because we'll be converting everything, all our evasion to the armor. Armor is more important than evasion in our case. And for the Ascendancy, like I said, we are running Slayer. And the first thing you should get is Endless Hunger, because it will make you tougher. And then Brutal Favor, and on a Mercy Lap we're getting Headsman, because this is where you probably will start mapping. And with this build you can run both Reflect Fizz and Reflect Elemental damage. By using Starforge, we're doing absolutely no elemental damage, and by taking Headsman, we'll take absolutely no reflect physical damage. That's why we are Reflect Immune. And on the very uber lap, we'll be taking Bane Legend, because this is basically giving us Onslaught when we're killing rare or unique enemies, and we can drop Onslaught gems and jewels on our gear and tree because we don't need it. That's about it. Let's move on to the next part. For the early game, I can strongly recommend to level with something else and not the Cyclone, because Cyclone will be, like I said, pretty damn weak on the very early game. So for the early game, get yourself a Sunder and just start leveling with axes till you get some 70-80 level or whatever, when you can actually get transitioning into the Cyclone. I personally use Relentless Fury, which is a very cheap axe. It's like one alchemy axe and gives you Onslaught, Cooling Strike, and also you leech tremendous amount of damage. So get 2 of this, equip on this, a dual wield, and up till a point when you can actually transition to the Blood Reaper. Blood Reaper is already a pretty damn tough axe. It hits for quite a big amount of damage, and another good thing about it is that it leeches 1% of your physical attack damage as life, which is pretty damn huge. At this point you will already be leeching quite a bit, so this will keep you safe. After Blood Reaper, I personally transitioned to St. Victor's Metal, which is another extremely cheap axe. It's very fucking strong. It does a lot of physical damage, and at the same time it has Rampage, increase attack speed, and Frenzy Charge on the Rampage skills. It's just incredibly powerful. After that, I decided I'm gonna min-max a bit more, while I've been still saving my money for the Starforge, and I've been using Kitava's Fist. Kitava's Fist is pretty damn crazy. While Melee Splash does absolutely nothing for Cyclone, at the same time we are leeching 1% of leeching damage as life, and as well as 1% of attack damage as mana, which is absolutely crazy. We also recover 5 level maximum life on kill. This is very strong X, and I strongly recommend it as an option before you switch from Axis to Starforge entirely. I also posted all my 4 links for Sunder and 4 link for Val Double Strike. You can get a 20% quality Val Double Strike quite early. This will be your first expensive purchase. I strongly recommend to buy the quality from the very beginning. So you will be running pretty much Sunder on a 4 link and then 5 link, and then a 4 link Val Double Strike. This is about it. This is where you will be up to a point where you will be saving your money for the Starforge. This is also very strong options here for leveling, like the Worm's Melt, you're leeching life and mana. Belt of the Deceiver is incredibly cheap, it's just very affordable. You can get cheap comms rooms as well for the life. Tabula Rasa, no brainer. And also Hemophilia is extremely good smooth option for leveling, like to the very end game to the point where you will be purchasing really nice spike gloves with attack speed, or just another gloves with attack speed. But before that, using Hemophilia is extremely just good. It's just very strong, gives you chance to bleed, and these explosions are really happy with the clear speed. So I strongly recommend to use Hemophilia while leveling. For the very end game, like I said, we will be running Starforge and another 6 link for a Val Double Strike on the chest, which is the bit of the best. For the Starforge, you will be running Cyclone, Brutality, Melee Fist damage support, Maim support, damage in full life, Conk effect, and that's about it. Of course, drop Conk effect for the increased area effect while mapping. Another 6 link is Val Double Strike, and this is Val Double Strike with quality here. Val Double Strike, Melee Fist, damage in full life because they're always in full life. Brutality support, Ruthless support, and increased duration. Increased duration is incredibly strong here for Val Double Strike, guys. It will make them last like much longer because they are not lasting. Their base duration is 6 seconds, but with this, they are lasting like almost 10 seconds, which is quite a lot. For 10 seconds, you get absolutely tremendous amount of damage for bossing, which I strongly recommend over any Ancestral Warchief. On the helm, Devotee's Devotion, and if you can't afford increased attack speed for the Cyclone enchant, because it's pretty damn expensive, like 3 Exile, 2 on the League, this is damn expensive. See, if you don't have it, just buy this. Increased vulnerability cost effect. This is incredibly damn cheap. It's like 20 chaos, and for entire game, like entire mapping process, this will keep you very strong, because the curses on white mobs has very high effect on this. That's why you'll be doing a lot of damage on this. This is Blood Magic linked to faster attacks, Leap Slam, and Fortified to give us some damage reduction. The amulet is super cheap shit. It's like 1 chaos. Like I said, you can use in presence with the physical damage on this, as well as Duras' Salute or Carnage Heart for damage as well. Another rings are just life and resist. For the damage, of course, you will need steel rings. These gloves are really nice there. I have my Ancestral Warchief sitting there with Immortal Call, custom damage taken in my Lightning Golem. This is nothing crazy here, just the little buffs. Lightning Golem gives us attack speed, and Warchief gives us melee damage. The belt, like I said, might be many options. Belt of the Deceiver cheapest, Perseverance slightly more expensive, the Wretch is more expensive and more expensive, but Stygian Vice is absolutely OP, and you can use a thing like this with chance to blind on hit with attacks, because our massive attack speed allows us to blind quite effectively. The boots are nothing crazy, just life, resist, move speed, and attack speed and cast speed if you've killed recently. This is for mapping. This is pretty much it. All the links are listed here. 5 links Cyclone, 5 links Wild Double Strikes, and 6 links as well. For the chest, like I mentioned, there are many different options like the Calm's Heart for life, Bronze Leader for damage, Carcass Jack for damage. There's even a Series Splendor which you can use if you really wish. This is pretty damn close to the Belly of the Beast, like a cheap version of Belly of the Beast, but it's an evasion rating, energy shield, armor, so it will be hard to get red sockets in it. The jewels, like I mentioned, are this. I have 2 of this, which is incredibly nice. Chance to shock, and these 2 combined gives me a 10% chance to shock, so I potentially can shock the enemies and just get an incredible amount of increased damage on them. Another thing which is really nice and which appeared in the Delve League is Owl's Uprising with Dexterity. This is an extremely expensive amulet which is at least 7 exiles on the Delve League, and on standard will be much more expensive. At the same time, this amulet allows you to unreserve your grace, because graves takes no reservation, just like this, where vulnerability have no reservation. So with this you can drop grace reservation and use Herald of Purity, as well as run a lot of mana and potentially even another mana on top of your existing auras and everything else. So this is pretty damn strong, another option for this. For the flasks, like I said, we don't really have a lot of options. There's a lot of free things over here. The first and the top priority for you will be getting Lion's Roar, and this is the legacy version, by the way, which I have sitting on standard. It doesn't matter, just normal Lion's Roar will be fine. Another 2 is the Sulfur, just for the damage, and the other 2 are just balancing your missing resist. If you are missing Cold Res, and for the Uber Elder and for the Sheeper you can use Cold Res, and another basically just Quicksilver. Another thing that you should potentially use is the Jade Flask, because we are running Iron Reflexes, which we're converting all our evasion to the armor, and 3000 evasion rating and 3000 armor is incredibly strong as well. So either just 3000 armor or 3000 evasion, doesn't matter. You can use this flask for the toughness. And the Life Flask, of course, with the Blood of the Karui as an expansive option. For the Pantheon Gods, I strongly recommend to use Soul of Aracali, because this Captured Arachnoxia also affects our leech rate, which is pretty damn insane amount of toughness, where our sustain comes from. And if you're using Blood Rage with a Mortal Call and custom damage taken like I do, and like any fucking Slayer out there, this basically kicks in every time your Mortal Call procs. This is very, very strong. I do not recommend switching to everything else, but if you feel like you are too squishy and your leech is not a problem, you can try Lunaris or probably Solaris for the single target problems out there. The Minor God is definitely the Soul of the Slaughter or the Groot Cool. I personally run with Slaughter because I'm mostly bossing at this point with this build, so the biggest problem is running out of life on the shit like Shaper or Uber Elder or other really tough encounters. So Slaughter is just like my safety net that helps me when I instantly get my last Fly Flask just when I need it. And especially in the Uber Lab, if you're running Uber Lab, this is very useful because we are not regenerating, we are Val-packed build, so Slaughter is nice. But for the defense, Groove Cool is indeed like tier 1, top tier defensive Pantheon power out there. Now, is this build a hardcore viable or not, guys? Probably been questioning yourself. I mean, there's so much sustain, there's good recovery, there's decent amount of armor, there's quite a lot of life, like 7.3, which I'm running right now. So is this build hardcore viable or not? Well, you know, it's a pretty tough question because the way that leech works, if you stop leeching and stop heating just for a second, you may potentially get hit and die instantly. So it's a pretty damn sketchy, and if there are like very strong hits, like probably a lot of strong elemental damage or a lot of physical damage out there, you may potentially die instantly when you are not leeching or your over leech is not working. This is level 83 Abyssal Leech, by the way, which is incredibly powerful. This is the most powerful leech you can ever get. I cannot recommend like 50-50 for the hardcore, because I believe that might be a little problematical while leveling. We are not actually using Cyclone. This is where most problems come from, because Thunder does not really give you that much of smoothness as the Cyclone. But when you transition to the Cyclone, you can actually be quite tough. But outside of Cyclone, we can be pretty damn squishy while leveling, like into the 60s, 50s, and probably while leveling in the Axe, like Kitavas and any other like hard encounters can be pretty problematical, because at this point we will be not using Cyclone and we'll be prone to all kinds of instant damage. That's about it. Now let's talk about the overall effectiveness of the build, guys, and I'll let you know what I think about it. So for the clear speed, I would give it definitely as 4 out of 5. It's just very good. It's just not insane, you know, not insane like Reef something, Reef Juggernaut, Reef Slayer, Reef Ascendant something. The clear speed is very strong. It's very fast. You will have a lot of move speed, a lot of attack speed. Everything is just very smooth. So 4 out of 5 is absolutely no questions asked. For the boss power, this is probably the weakest part of the build. Like I said, if you're not getting Val double strike soul charges, the single target becomes a little bit problematical. It's not bad, it's just not very strong, I would say. You also have to cast Ancestral War Chief once in a time, and like this Chimera encounter over here, it's just not instant, you know. It's not Blade Flurry, it's not Molten Strike, so it's a bit of a struggle on the single target. It takes a while to take down enemies. At the same time, it really compensates on the amount of toughness you get, so nothing can really kill you while you are spinning and leeching at this point. For the AoE, another 4 out of 5. The AoE is just nice. After the nerfs and buffs, the AoE with increased area effect is pretty damn nice, I would say. I have absolutely no problems, and in the Incursion League I farmed tremendous amount of underground seas, shaped underground seas, and the clear speed was absolutely amazing, and the AoE was very nice. I was literally spinning through the corridors, and maps like the Toxic Sewers are absolutely crazy to farm with this build, so the AoE is 4 out of 5. For the toughness, I would give it as 4 out of 5 again, because the toughness is very nice. It's just not immortal. Sometimes it's a bit problematical on the bosses, and eventually a single Shaper Ball can kill you if you catch it to the face, but 4 out of 5 is still very nice. The only problem will be the very end game, like the Uber Elder and Shapers and all the toughest encounters. Aside from that, nothing can really kill you while you get decent amount of life. You are very fucking tough. As the last thing, guys, I want to thank you all for watching this guide. This was a lot of fun playing Cyclone Slayer build. I really like playing melee builds, and this is probably one of the builds that I can recommend for the new players. It has a lot of firepower, really good defenses, the mobility is really nice. At the same time, there are really nice stretch goals like chasing the good steel rings and getting the good Starforge and all that shit. 2 6 links in the build, also very nice stretchable gear. So I enjoyed the build. Thank you very much, and press this upvote, subscribe to my channel, check my Patreon for the additional information. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.